Tataha sabhayam upavishtam uttame nripasane sambhritatejasam vibhum. After having accomplished the rather impossible task of slaying Hiranyakashipu, sabhayam uttame asane upavishtam. In the sabha, in the assembly hall, the uttama asana, the emperor's seat, upavishtam, he went and took his seat. Sambhritatejasam vibhum. After having won his goal, the whole brilliance on his face got many times more. It became manifold. Alakshidat vairathamatyamarsanam prajandavaktram nababhaja kaschana. Actually, there is no enemy around. Even then, his prajandavaktra, his very brilliant and dazzling face, fierce face, nababhaja kaschana. Nobody was able to approach him. After all, that residual mood is still there. It is not over. Tadassabhayam upavishtamuttame nripasane sambhritatejasam vibhum alakshidat vairathamatyamarsanam prachandavaktram nababhaja kaschana. He was heaving still very heavily. Nishamya lokatrayamastagajwaram tamadidaityam harina hatam mridhe praharshavegotkalitaanamuhu prasuna varshair vavrushuhu surastriya. The slaying of Hiranyakashipu marked something very, very significant. Nishamya lokatrayamastagajwaram tamadidaityam harina hatam mridhe. In a direct personal encounter, for which Lord Hari had to take a special form in order to circumvene all the boons that Hiranyakashipu had snatched from Brahma, his own counterpart. Whose counterpart? Mahavishnu's counterpart. Nishamya, after having heard Lokatrayamastagajwaram tamadidaityam. Lokatrayamastagajwaram. The life and the behavior, the rule, the tyranny of Hiranyakashipu was like a brain fever for all people. Mastakajwaram, Lokatrayam, for all the three worlds. So he was really a brain fever. He was like a meningitis for the three worlds. Tam adidaityam harina hatam mridhe. Tam adidaityam, the chief of all the daityas, harina hatam mridhe. In the actual encounter, in a personal duel, he was killed by Hari. On hearing this, praharshavegotkalitaanana muhuhu prasuna varshaihi vavrushuhu surastriya. The women of the heavens, all the females of the heavens, praharshavegotkalitaanana, they were so delighted, so happy, so ecstatic, that all of them again and again started dancing, showering beautiful, heavenly, celestial flowers. Nishamya lokatrayamastagajwaram tamadidaityam harina hritam mridhe praharshavegotkalitaananamuhu prasuna varshair vavrushussurastriya. The whole mission of Narahari is practically over. After having completed the encounter, seen to it that no opponent from either Hiranyakashipu or from his side is left aside, he took his seat on the throne of Hiranyakashipu itself. He was very, very heavily breathing. He was so powerful in his looks that nobody thought of going near him. The purpose of his descent is already over. Now he has to be pacified, glorified and sent back. But who will approach him? It was Brahma's task. He was the person who gifted, Brahma was the one who gifted Hiranyakashipu with so many boons, as a result of which he rose in rebellion against Mahavishnu. That encounter is over. So Brahma came to the spot and he found what to do in order to appease Narahari now. He first of all spoke to Goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi said, I will not approach him at all. I don't know of anything like this. So I am afraid I cannot go to him in this kind of a form. Then Brahma thought for a moment and felt, Prahlada is the little boy for whose sake this particular Narahari descent was necessary. Because the entire form was a manifestation to save the young Prahlada. The little boy went slowly and gently and prostrated before Narahari. When the little boy prostrated before him, Narahari's mood suddenly changed. And you should see how Vyasadeva describes it. Swapadamule patitam tamarbhagam Swapadamule patitam tamarbhagam Vilokya devaha kripaya paripludaha Utthapya tachirshnya dadhat karambujam Kalahi vitrastadhiyam kritabhayam Swapadamule patitam tamarbhagam Vilokya deva kripaya paripludaha Utthapya tachirshnya dadhat karambujam Kalahi vitrastadhiyam kritabhayam. You know, in coining words, in evolving the timely and suitable phraseologies, there is a lot of grace and blessings conveyed. Swapadamule padidam tamarbhagam. Such a fierce form which threatens Brahma, Mahalakshmi also. This boy had no difficulty at all in approaching it. He was still the same dear Lord for him. After all, this little boy at the age of 7 was witnessing the whole encounter. I am wondering, will any one of you be able to witness this encounter? Will you have the eyes to see? Will you have the mind to sustain? Will you have the heart to bear? I don't think any one of you will have. This little boy was standing there and witnessing the whole episode. And what was he seeing? The cruelty, the wickedness, the intolerance, the unjustifiability of everything that his father did. His beloved Lord is on the other hand. And he had to see his beloved Lord being clubbed by him, beaten by him, attacked with sword, etc. Just imagine what should have been the emotional tension normally, but the boy had nothing of it. He straight away walked, and when he prostrated, Swapadamule, right at the bottom of my feet, Padidam tamarbhagam, he is lying prostrate there. What do you mean by lying prostrate on the feet? You know, when we are up and active, we can raise our hands, we can run, we can escape, we can go to the left, right, jump, etc. When you are lying, you are totally surrendered. Nothing can be done. The person before whom you surrender, he can trample over you, tie you up if he wants, because you cannot get up, he is already standing. So the act of surrender, particularly prostration, Sashtanga Pranama, it is the greatest devotional and an act of submission. Nothing greater than that. I should be very thankful and extremely grateful to the people, our forefathers, who evolved this kind of a confession or a surrender. There is nothing greater than that. So far as our own body is concerned, the head receives further flesh blood, and our intelligence and brain would be far better by prostration. Every day you learn to practice 12 times prostrate, dandavadu, like a stick, and get up. I think all the back pain will be relieved, and you will be more intelligent, sharper to think, to understand matters. Swapadamule patitam tamarbhagam, that little child, Vilokya, he looked at Devaha, that Narahari Deva, Kripaya Paripludaha. The moment he looked at him, he was overcome, overflowing with compassion. Overflowing with compassion, mercy, grace, gentleness, softness. The heart of Narahari started melting and flowing. Vilokya deva kripaya paripludaha utthapya. He lifted him up gently. If somebody prostrates before you and he is not in a mood to get up, it is for you to gently lift him up. That is what Narahari did. In order to lift him up, Narahari had to get down from the seat, bend himself, bring his hands close to the earth, and then lift him up. Utthapya tachirshni adathat karambujam. Lift him up gently. He placed karambujam, the lotus of his hand, tachirshni, on his head. Can you imagine, my dear viewers? Are you listening to me? Are you with me? Those people who are listening to me, they are undergoing the best of their moments in their life. There is nothing more benedictory than this. Lord Narahari has come to your houses and he is blessing you. Listen to what he is saying. This is the greatest occasion, the most benedictory and auspicious in your life. Utthapya tachshirshnya adadhat karambujam kalahi vitrastadhiyam krita bhayam. What is the nature of his hand? Karambuja. Those people who are tottering under the grip of kalahi. That ahi means serpent, kala means time. The time serpent is devouring all of us. Krita bhayam. For all of them, it is offering fearlessness. Fearlessness. That kind of a hand and a touch which has got the mystic power of taking away from you all the fear caused by the passage of time, the Kala Sarpa. Swapada mule patitam tamarbhakam vilokya devah kripaya paripludaha utthapya tachshirshni adadhat karambujam kalahi vitrastadhiyam krita bhayam satatkarasparsha dudakhila ashubha sabadya bhivyakta para atmadarshanaha tat padapatmam hridi nirvato dadhau hrishyatanuhu klinna hridashrulochanaha. The act of prostration and the benefits, instant benefits, the man who prostrates gets. Both are clearly explained here. You must have these verses to explain what is a prostration, how does it have its mystic and spiritual effect, and what are the benefits one gets. Satat karasparsha dhudha khila shubha. The moment Narahari, who is Lord Hari himself, he is no more Narahari. He has really mentally come back to his Mahavishnu stature. Narahari is gone. Hiranyakashipu is slain. All the people have been vanquished. There is no purpose of Narahari now. So it is Lord Hari. Satat karasparsha dhudha khila ashubha. After all, Prahlada was born as the son of Hiranyakashipu. Normally, some of the father's traits and sinfulness and wickedness would be there in him. Though there was nothing of that manifestation, whatever little was there in the form of subtle tendencies or inheritance, all that was completely washed off by the touch of Narahari. Satat karasparsha dhudha akhila ashubha. Akhila ashubha, all inauspiciousness, all kinds of stain. Dhudha, completely washed off. Sabadya bhivyakta paratma darshanaha. Are you hearing? Sabadya bhivyakta paratma darshanaha. Instantly, the moment Narahari Mahavishnu touched and blessed him, he said, lifted him up. Instantly, abhivyakta paratma darshanaha. Prahlada had a full glimpse of the Paramatma and its splendor. He was so far a devotee, worshipping Lord Hari. Now he has become a self-realized person, a self-realized boy. Abhivyakta para atma darshanaha tat padapatmam hridi nirvrito dadhau. What did he do? Tat padapatmam, the lotus feet of the Lord, hridi dadhau. He started installing them, carrying them in his own heart. Nirvritaha. All his agitation, all his anxiety, father repeatedly calling him and asking him to say, what have you learned best? And the boy having to say, I have learned devotion to the Lord is the best. And instantly his father getting into a temper, becoming angry, asking even people to kill him, kill the son mercilessly. After all this produces tension. If you happen to be the son of a wicked father, you may not be wicked. You may be absolutely virtuous. But even the fact and the relationship with your father will always be acting as an aching load for you. So all that is completely gone. The mind is relieved now. Relieved now. All the stain has been removed, wiped and washed off. Hrishyatanuhu. He was soaked in horripilation. He was full of joy, ecstasy. Klinna hridashulojanaha. His heart started melting. Ashrulojanaha. And the tears started, ananda tears, blissful tears flowing down the eyes. Satatkara sparsha dhudha khila shubha sapadya bhivyakta paratma darshanaha tat pada patmam hridi nirvrto dadhau hrishyatanuhu klinna hridashulojanaha. Why did I narrate all this? In connection with one sentence, the first line of a verse which Karabhajana was singing. Dhyayam sada paribhavaghram abhishtadoham. Paribhavaghram abhishtadoham. Now tell me very clearly whether by this illustration you understand very clearly whether the Supreme Lord Hari, the sustainer of the whole universe, will readily arrive to any scene, any time, anywhere in the world to relieve the distress of a devotee and to bless him in ample measure. So whatever difficulty Prahlada had, all that has been removed. So far as his father is concerned, listen to what Mahavishnu says and the boy himself is asking for. So, Abhishtadohaha. He wanted to kill, behead the son. And with raised sword he started proceeding. At that time the attention was diverted to the pillar and this encounter followed. So the timely relief was made available to the young boy. And the disturbance he had caused to the entire world, that has also been relieved. How many people were tormented by him? All the torment has been removed. Now, after he was so very happy. When he got up and Narahari was seated in his front, his mind was full of joy. Tears of joy were flowing from the eyes. Everything was all right. He started praising. Beautiful praises by Prahlada towards Lord Narahari. These verses are of immense value. You know, we are conducting a Sreemad Bhagavata Tattva Samiksha Satram where it is all lectures and lectures, exposition on the great text. This time we had about 48 scholars to speak on the text. It was spread over 10 days. In connection with Naimisharanyam, the yearly event Sreemad Bhagavata Tattva Samiksha Satram, our intention is to make people understand the messages, the truths, the values, the messages and the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. We want to make them the warp and woof of every family of our country. Now a lot of effort is being made, thousands and thousands assembled to listen to the talks. But with a view to penetrate into the rest of the society, we are having some competitions. One competition is to recite the Srimad Bhagavata verses. Now we have given this Prahlada Stuti of Narahari and people came to recite the verses without looking into the book. This time I happened to visit the place. So many students sat in a semicircle. One student will recite the first verse. The second will have to recite the second verse like that in succession. So after completing 1 or 2 rounds, they will select a few people who have done better. Again 2, 3, 4 screenings are done and we select the number 1, number 2 and number 3. People are asked to give an elocution also on the subject. Some essay also they should write. All these took place. Now the selection that we had made was Prahlada Stuti. It is so very beautiful. I wanted to tell you 1 or 2, but this telecast becomes more and more extended and extensive, so I don't go into it. I want to conclude the entire narration of this episode by referring to 1 or 2 points. After the whole praise, Lord Narahari, Mahavishnu, was fully pleased. He said, "My dear boy, I am very happy. I have come here. It's a very, very rare event. Now I am pleased with you. Ask me for any boons that you want." You know what Prahlada said? "My dear Lord, this statement of yours is wrong. You should not have said it to me. I am a person who has left everything and who has completely surrendered before you. I want nothing but you. My constant, incessant devotion to your feet alone is what I look for. Besides that, I have nothing like a boon to ask for. If there is a servant who tries to specially please the master, he is not a servant. If there is a master who gives special incentives to the servant in order to please them, that is no master at all. It is a barter that takes place between them. Don't ask me for all this. If you have offered me boons with a view to test me, okay, I have nothing to say. Otherwise it is wrong. This is what Prahlada said. He also added, saying that, in spite of this, if you are still insisting that I should take a boon, then I only have one prayer to make. Kamanam hridya samroho. Let no desire sprout in my heart. My dear listeners, are you with me when I say this? Don't go and stipulate anything before the Lord. Keep Him in your heart. Chant His names. Sing His glories. Read Sreemad Bhaagavatam or similar texts. Live in the company of your Lord. Never ask Him for anything. It is a great mistake to ask Him. He is a Sarvajna and an all-knower. Astaushid harimekagra manasa susamahitaha premagadgadaya vaja tanyasta hridaye kshanaha. In the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, I feel like saying that the seventh skandha is the most delicious, sweet and sublime. It is very, very elevating, very often melting your heart. It is also highly enlightening. A devotee is presented in the midst of the worst of cruelty that you can imagine. First in the hands of the father, second in the hands of the teachers. In spite of all this distress, all this consternation, the little boy never went back on whatever he was saying or he was on. His devotion only got strengthened, deepened, reinforced, more and more refined and strengthened at every point of time. This is an example for every one of the devotees in this world for all times to come. While the father was assailed by Narahari in a very serious and heart-rending battle, so to say, ultimately he was killed. The same hands which killed the father now blesses the child. When the child went and prostrated before him and lay on his feet. Just see the contrast. This world is always noted to extend contrasts and conflicts. Astaushid harimekagra manasa susamahitaha prema gadgadaya vacha tanyasta hridaye kshanaha. As I said earlier, as we have seen, Narahari lifted the boy up and he was completely purified by Mahavishnu's Lord Hari's touch. And then, Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Tanyasta Hridaye Kshanaha. Tanyasta Hridaye Kshanaha. His heart as well as eyes were completely fixed on the Supreme Lord who was seated in his front. Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Astaushid. He started praising the Lord in a voice and in a diction full of fondness, prema, love, and gadgadaya, with gadgada, choking of the voice. Astaushid harimekagra manasa susamahitaha prema gadgadaya vacha tanyasta hridaye kshanaha. Now the Prahlada Stuti, consisting of 43 verses, is very metaphysical sometimes and highly and movingly and sweepingly devotional at other time. It will melt your heart. It will give you a lot of enlightenment. It will expose the very tenets of devotion on the one hand and the fundamentals of spiritual philosophy and yoga. As I always say, the Bhagavata hymns, the hymns of praise found in different places in Bhagavata from different sources, will form a beautiful assortment of hymns. They are very enlightening, not merely devotional.